The premier endurance sports car racing championship in North America features the bravest drivers and the most famous automotive brands. Round 10 of the 2019 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship takes the series to the Virginia International Raceway. VIR sets up the final 3 weekends of racing in 2019, and everyone knows what's on the line. Drivers and teams in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge are on track for round 8 of their season. So, fasten your seatbelts, because it's time to go sports car racing. Virginia is for lovers, and the Virginia International Raceway really is for the lovers of great racing. Commonly referred to as VIR, the Virginia International Raceway is located on the border between the state of North Carolina and the state of Virginia. The track was opened back in 1957, but shut down in 1974. Following a 26-year hiatus, the track reopened in March of 2000 when businessmen Harvey Siegel and Connie Nyholm purchased it. The track features 6 different configurations, but the full course on which IMSA races is 3.27 miles long and features the well-known climbing S's starting in turn 7 as well as the roller coaster in turn 14. As the second GT-only weekend on the 2019 schedule, the prototype drivers will stay at home, while GT Le Mans and GT Daytona drivers put on an edge-of-your-seat show around the 17 twisting and turning corners that make up Virginia International Raceway. As the teams and drivers work hard in the Virginia heat, the championship chase is turned all the way up as we near the end of 2019. Bill Auberlen and Jan Magnussen are the 2 drivers in the field with the most victories at Virginia International Raceway with 3 wins each, and both also are members of the 50 Great IMSA Drivers list. Auberlen, who will share the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW M6 GT3 with Robbie Foley, won Grand Am GT races at VIR back in 2002, 2004, and 2005. Auberlen owns 59 career IMSA victories, and his next one will tie him with Scott Pruitt for the most wins all time. All 3 of Magnussen's victories have been overall wins here at VIR. He won the Grand Am race in 2007 in a Daytona prototype and scored back-to-back GT Le Mans / overall wins in 2016 and 2017. Magnussen is sharing the number 3 Corvette Racing Chevrolet Corvette C7R with Antonio Garcia. Jan's 2017 victory is the most recent one for the 2-time and defending WeatherTech Sports Car Championships GT Le Mans class champions. Magnussen also is the active leader in pole positions at VIR. He won the GT class pole for the Grand Am race in 2011 and took the GT Le Mans overall pole back in 2016. Corvette Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing are the 2 winningest active teams at VIR, with 3 victories each. 2 of the Corvette team's wins were the pair of victories with Magnussen and Garcia back in 2016 and 17. The team's first win came at the hands of Tommy Milner and Oliver Gavin back in 2012. Milner and Gavin continue to co-drive the number 4 Corvette C7R today. All 3 of the Ganassi team's previous victories at VIR came in Grand Am Daytona prototype competition, winning in 2005, 2008, and 2009. Ford Chip Ganassi Racing is looking for its first GT Le Mans win at the track and will have 2 chances to do it, with the number 66 Ford GT co-driven by Joey Hand and Dirk Mueller, as well as the number 67 of Richard Westbrook and Ryan Briscoe. Westbrook and Briscoe head to VIR riding a 2-race GT Le Mans win streak, scoring back-to-back victories at Lime Rock Park and Road America. After completing 2 years in the professional series, the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, Rob Ferriol and Team Moorespeed have confirmed that they will contest the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge in the TCR category. Chevrolet is the winningest active manufacturer at VIR with 7 wins at the track. Porsche is currently second with 6 VIR wins. IndyCar racer from Colombia, Gabby Chavez, will cross over to sports car racing as he joins the South African Julian van der Vaart in the TCR category at VIR inside an Audi RS3. After being involved in an incident that retired the Audi R8 LMS number 8 from eEuroparts.com row racing from competition at Watkins Glen and missing Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Lime Rock and Road America due to repairs, drivers Rodrigo Salas and Gunnar Jeanette finally get back on track this weekend at Virginia International Raceway. 2019 has showcased the exciting and unpredictable racing in GT Le Mans that IMSA fans have not just come to expect, but to crave and enjoy all year long. At the top of this fierce championship fight in GT Le Mans are the two Porsche 911s from the factory Porsche GT team. The pair of Porsches have been fast from the start of the season back in Daytona, but the rest of the GT Le Mans field is far from giving the German-built cars a free pass towards this year's championship title. The red, white, and blue Ford GTs and the bright yellow Chevrolet Corvettes are constantly right behind the Porsches in the points and are now closing in with just 3 weekends left. The narrow and fast corners of VIR will provide a perfect playground for the factory GT cars as they settle their differences late in the season. On the other hand, in GT Daytona, Acura commands solidly thanks to the efforts of the Meyer-Shank Racing Team. With BMW in second place, this fight is between Japanese and German manufacturers is part of what makes GT Daytona racing so much fun. BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan driver Connor De Felipe triumphed in Virginia last year in another classic GT Le Mans battle. The young Californian explains what it takes and what it feels like to win at this technical track.
So last year we got our first win here at VIR. It was a very memorable moment for myself. It was my first win with BMW as a factory driver and our first win with this program. So that was a huge deal because it had been a lot of work up to this point in the year. Throughout the race we looked to be competitive, and actually my teammate at the time, Alexander Sims, he had an off, had contact, and we got a drive-through penalty, so it looked like our race was going to be really difficult. But we ended up bouncing back with strategy and on pace at the end, and we came through with our win. So now here we are, 2019, trying to win again. We came through with our win. So now here we are, 2019, trying to win again this weekend.
And now it's time to check in with Jeffrey Carter as he shares with us now some of the technical provisions that have been made to cars in both the GT Le Mans and GT Daytona category before we go racing here in Virginia.
This week, the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is here at Virginia International Raceway, better known as VIR. This is a GT-only event this week with 2 classes, GT LM and GTD. We've had a couple of small performance adjustments in both classes. In GT LM, the BMW M8 is going to receive less power. They overperformed at the last event, so we're going to reduce their power, their boost, by an average of 9.5 kilowatts over the useful RPM range. The Ford GT, however, will receive a performance increase. Even though they've won the last 2 races, their performance was a little less than average. So they'll be receiving 5 kilograms additional mass, but with that will come more power, more mass, more power, and a little bit more fuel. In GTD, the Audi will receive 20 kilos less weight, and the Ferrari 10 kilos less weight. Hopefully those changes will get those cars where they need to be, and you'll enjoy the race.
Hi, I'm Zachary Robichon, driver of the number 9 FAF Porsche, and here's a lap around VIR. All right, so we're coming down here, start-finish line. Nice hard braking into the first turn. Use those visual reference markers on the left-hand side. Kind of cheat the car in here into the apex and try to roll onto the throttle nice and easy. Hard to see the exit through here, so you really got to trust the track and know where you're going into. Coming into turn 3, a fast corner, just a short little downshift. Try to get the car into the apex, but use all the road on the exit. Slow section here, getting ready. Get the car all the way over to the left, back over to the right, and then setting up for the S's. Really important to get a good exit out of here because this is your speed all up through the S's. See here, using all the curves. Nice fast portion here. The S's is flat in our car, so you're just looking to be as smooth as possible. Use the curve, but don't want to use too much to upset the balance of the car. As you're coming through this right-hander, you got to start thinking about turn 10, quick left-hander. You see here, fighting the car a little bit, but all that track on the exit, using it as much as you can. Coming into what used to be oak tree, but there's no more tree. A little bit of a difficult corner because no visual references, and it seems like it takes forever, so it kind of never ends, but the exit there, of course, leads us onto our back straight. Through here, you're thinking about roller coaster because you got to get your braking right. It's kind of tests your bravery here, so you got to be calm, get your eyes up. Use those brake reference markers as they're coming. Brake deep here, get that car, use a little bit of the curb. You see we'll be fighting the car a little bit through here, coming down the hill, a little bit less traction because of that, and then finally into Hogsbend, another corner where you're going to use all that curb and fight the cars. Probably a little bit too much that time, but that's all right, and that's a complete lap around VIR.
Virginia International Raceway, host to the Michelin GT Challenge and Round 10. As the Michelin man waves the green flag, we are racing here at VIR. It's Lawrence Vanthor in the Porsche, jumping out to an early lead ahead of the Corvette, but there's his teammate, Nick Tandy, coming all the way up to second place after taking the green flag in the 6th position. By the time the leaders make it out of turn 2 and set up for turn 3, it's the 2 Porsches out in front in GT Le Mans. Meanwhile, behind them in the GT Daytona category, everybody got away from the flag cleanly as well. It's actually Motul pole winner Zach Robichon keeping his Pfaff Motorsports Porsche out in front of the rest of the competition in GT Daytona, as he's got the Meyer-Shank Racing Acura and some of the Lexuses behind him actually on the start as well. Everyone gets away cleanly. We are racing in Virginia. All right, a little bit later on here, let's check in on the GT Le Mans battle. Looks like for about 4th position. There's the number 66 Ford GT of Joey Hand. Let's see how he got the spot here. And it's actually the number 4 Corvette sliding wide over in turn 3 right before getting into corner number 4. And that Corvette just slides wide, drops the right side Michelins, and Hand in that Ford GT is able to just turn down to the left, get on the gas, and drive right on by. An uncharacteristic mistake from that number 4 Corvette driven by Oliver Gavin here about an hour into the race. Very uncommon to see that, but the good news is everybody able to continue on and no yellow flags, just one position swap there between the Ford and the Corvette. A little bit later on, 2 veterans of motorsport right here. Townsend Bell in the number 12 bright yellow Lexus for Aim Vassar Sullivan, and that's actually Patrick Long in the Park Place Motorsport Porsche behind him. Those 2 drivers getting a little bit of side-by-side action at the top of the roller coaster as they come down to complete another lap here, just under an hour and a half to go. But Townsend Bell and Patrick Long getting a little side-by-side. Pit stops underway just a few minutes later. It's the Corvette team pitting the number 3. Looks like Magnussen getting out, and they should be putting Antonio Garcia behind the wheel of that number 3 Chevrolet Corvette. Fresh set of Michelin tires going on underneath that Corvette C7R. Garcia behind the wheel, the door shuts. They're just going to wait on VP Racing fuel now as Garcia pulls the belts tight. He's looking to the right-hand side. He's in a battle here with the number 66 Ford GT. Looks like Hand has gotten out. Dirk Mueller in. Both cars down and away. Who's going to win the race off pit road at the line? It's going to be the Corvette. Antonio Garcia getting out ahead of Dirk Mueller in the Ford GT. But here comes the Porsche flashing its lights. He's on a flyer lap right now. The Porsche is going to get around Mueller in the Ford. What can he do with Garcia in the Chevrolet Corvette here? Quite a bit of drama. About an hour to go in the race here. We check in. Now it should be Scott Hargrove behind the wheel of that number 9 Pfaff Motorsports Porsche, leading the way here in GT Daytona, trying to stay out ahead of Jerome Bleekemolen. Right behind him, Bleekemolen's right there in that number 33 Mercedes, running in 2nd place. And then Farnbacher, coming off that championship last year in the GT Daytona category. Farnbacher for Meyer-Shank Racing runs in 3rd. Tony Vielander in the Ferrari runs 4th, as we keep an eye on Scott Hargrove trying to pull away here from Jerome Bleekemolen. And there's your top 3 in GT Daytona at the end of the back straightaway. They get on the brakes and go down through the roller coaster. Oh, very close racing here between the Corvette and the Ford GT. That's number 3. The 3 is going to dive to the inside, and there's contact. They both go sliding. The GT goes around from Ford Chip Ganassi Racing, and the number 3 Corvette able to continue. Let's take a look on board here from the Corvette. It looks like the number 3 is going to pull out to the outside, a little bit of contact, then dives to the inside and gets on the brakes very late. The GT, trying to make the corner, turns in, and the Corvette's nose is already there. Both cars go spinning and sliding through the grass, but both were able to continue. Meanwhile, at the end of this one, as it's been all day, the Porsche GT Team Porsches out in front Here comes Nick Tandy in that number 911 to see the white flag with teammate Earl Bamber in the 912 right behind him. Less than 1 lap to go here as the seconds tick off the clock. Antonio Garcia in that number 3 Corvette can only sit back and watch. Meanwhile, in GT Daytona, Jerome Bleekemolen has taken away the lead and is going to bring him down to see the checkered flag behind the GT Le Mans winner of Nick Tandy. Tandy and Porsche get it done in Virginia. It's a 1-2 finish for the Porsches as Tandy and Bamber come home first and second. Garcia and Milner come home third and fourth for the Corvettes. And then in GT Daytona, there you see him right there, the number 33 of Jerome Bleekemolen getting the job done, just ahead of Mario Farnbacher. GT Daytona goes to Jerome Bleekemolen here at Virginia International Raceway.
IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship standings. DPI class. LMP2 class. GT Le Mans. GT Daytona.
The IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge is a wildly competitive series. In the Grand Sport Championship, there are constant fights on track between McLaren, Porsche, Audi, and many other manufacturers. And in the newly developed TCR category, the arrival of Hyundai to the field, already featuring big-name brands such as Honda and Audi, has made the racing great fun to watch. Last year, Kenton Cook drove his Audi to the win at VIR in the TCR category. Cook now breaks down what the day and the race win meant to him.
In VIR, we were able to win the TCR category, and boy, was there some ups and downs there. So we had Tom O'Gorman was my teammate last year. Unfortunately, he's not my teammate this year, but I'm happy to have Tyler. But Tom started the car last year, and he was able to put it on pole, did a phenomenal job. It went from dry to wet, and half the track was wet, and we didn't come in for rains because half the track was wet and not the whole track. So it caught him off guard one time, and as well as it did everyone else, he went off in turn 4, was able to get out of the barriers that he collected himself in, and light damage, the car was fine. He brought it back to me in one piece, almost back to the lead, and I went out and we were able to win the race. So it was certainly ups and downs throughout the entire race, and was certainly an entertaining one to be in, as well as a hair grabber in the middle of it.
IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Senior Technical Director Jeff Mishtawi explains how the adverse conditions brought on by heavy rains here in Virginia will impact the balance of performance as well as the on-track action in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge's next race.
As you can see, or may not be able to see, the weather is wonderful. It's warm, 30 degrees Celsius. I think we're looking pretty good. Not really, it's pouring rain at the moment. In fact, it was raining so bad and with lightning yesterday that we had to cancel our qualifying and our final practice session. So today's race is going to start by the order of championship points for both GS and TCR classes. It's very similar to the weather we had at the previous round at Road America. The race was run under what we categorize as adverse conditions. And when a race is held under adverse conditions, that means there's no usable data generated from the race that we can apply for analysis or any sort of BOP change. So what we have here is essentially as if the Road America round had never happened. The BOP was carried over straight from the round preceding Road America into VIR. We're all hopeful that we can get some usable data from the event, make some changes going into rounds 9 and 10 for the year, if there's anything that needs to be changed. But with what we saw at the previous round of Road America, it was a great race. A lot of different changes for the lead in all the classes. So I would anticipate seeing the same thing here today.
VIR, home of this weekend's race in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Plenty of passing opportunities, turns 1, 12, 14, and 17, all spots to watch out for. The green flag flies and 2 hours of racing gets underway beneath threatening skies here in Virginia. Out front, it's Motul pole-winning car and championship fighter. It's the number 39 Audi from Carbon Motorsports. Jeff Westphal and Tyler McQuarrie leading the way as we get underway here at Virginia. Behind them, it's the BMW from Bimmer World. And oh boy, lots of side-by-side racing here, because that's the Mercedes-Benz from Team TGM going side-by-side before we even get to corner number 3. Grand Sport Racing all sorting themselves out as they come through the opening 6 corners here. They'll make their way towards that long back straightaway as we work lap number 1. First incident of the race just 10 minutes in. Oh, huge impact as the AWA McLaren, that's Ori Fadani, slides backwards into one of the cars already parked on the tire barriers. And then there's the 71 Rebel Rock Racing Corvette making contact. Frank Depew in that car. Oh my gosh, Bryce Ward in the number 57 Mercedes was the first car into the tires. And there's the number 96 BMW, Vic Barletta, with trouble. Either oil down on the track or possibly rain beginning to fall, as now we see rooster tails beginning to come up from the rear wheels of these cars as we see the restart. An hour and 22 minutes to go here. The rain beginning to come down. Let's check in now on our battle for the lead, as that looks like the GS field is going to see the Compass Racing McLaren jump out to the lead as the rest of the field tries to find grip as they tiptoe around. And now just 2 minutes left to go in the race here. That's Trent Hinman in the Porsche. That car handles very well in these slick conditions like this. He has got Jesse Lazare in the number 69 McLaren for Motorsports in Action up in front of him. Hinman wants to make a move. He's only got 1 lap to do it. You wonder when he'll go for it. It looks like now. Hinman to the inside in 4, and there's contact. There's contact. The McLaren goes for a spin through the grass, and Hinman takes over the lead. Oh my goodness, Kyle Marcelli in the Ford Mustang, Jeff Westphal in the 39. The whole GS field is going to make their way by the spinning and sliding McLaren of race leader Jesse Lazare, and contact right there from the front bumper of Trent Hinman in that bright yellow Volt Racing Porsche. As Hinman now makes his way down the back straightaway, you wonder what's going to happen. It sounds like race control is going to assess a penalty to Hinman for that contact, as Kyle Marcelli is racing with Jeff Westphal for second. That could end up being the win right there. And here's the race for the lead in TCR side by side. That's 3 wide for the lead. Here they go down the back straightaway. Who's going to give? Steven Simpson makes contact with John Morley. Morley hard into the barriers at the end of the back straightaway. Morley's race is done. Just corners from the finish line. Hinman's going to cross the finish line first, but the win is going to go to Kyle Marcelli and Nate Stacy in the Ford Mustang. Hinman receives a penalty. He will not win the race in GS. Marcelli and Stacy are your winners. And then in TCR, it looks like it's going to be Vance in the number 23 scoring the class win in TCR after a wild one here at Virginia International Raceway. Wow, what a hectic last lap as Nick Gallant and James Vance come away with the victory in the number 23 Audi in the TCR category. And there you see John Morley sitting backed into those tire barriers. Such a hard impact after racing for the lead. James Vance, John Morley, and Steven Simpson. And here you see our GS leaders. Trent Hinman was the first to line, but it's actually going to be the Mustang of Kyle Marcelli, your winner in Virginia.
IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge point standings. GS class. The TCR class.
Welcome to Virginia International Raceway.
All GTs this weekend.
It's the Michelin GT Challenge at VIR.
Sounds like the party started down on the grid.
3, 2, 1. Here's the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
Going green this time, going green this time.
Prepare for the start.
Getting ready to start the clock. 2 hours, 40 minutes. Green flag in the air.
Green flag, green flag.
All clear, all clear.
We're racing at VIR.
Nice start, man. Pressure still coming up.
As drivers, you definitely have to weigh risk versus reward.
Just be patient there, though, bud. Be patient. Make good decisions. He's just mad because you destroyed him on the outside that the lap, so you're good. Keep going.
You
you have to stay aggressive, be willing to take those chances both on the racetrack and with the strategy.
They will move the 96.
Oh, this is going to get ugly.
Didn't leave me any room at the apex.
Once again, the BMW is doing a bit of bump and run, and he doesn't come on. He's pushed 2-3 cars into a spin there.
There's a tyre carcass line in the middle of the back straight. Yeah, it could be yellow unless somebody hits it.
And for the first time in 289 laps, we have a full course caution.
We are going to pit this time, Nick. We're going to pit this time. Driving change to Patrick. Full 2 tires and fuel. Pit now.
Everybody's in already. Fuel and tires.
And the race is indeed on pit road.
Go. You're going to end up in 5th right here, but the 9 and the 63 stayed out and they're both on used tires, so I think this was a great call. I think that was the right call to do.
Think about the championship implications here. Farmbach has to think about that as Blinkemolen gets the draft and gets alongside him into the brake zone for 14.
He's got the preferred line now, and he completes the pass before they get there. So now it's Blinkemolen out in front. Farnbacher running second, Hargrove back in third.
Keep working, buddy. Keep working. You're doing an awesome job.
And this has been going for a couple laps. Townsend Bell in the 12, and Patrick Long in the 73.
Oh, brilliant maneuver down the middle of the roller coaster. I don't think I've seen a pass for position made there very often. Meantime, that battle between Ford and Corvette getting very close indeed as they come to the top of the roller coaster. Down the inside, he's hit the Ford, he's turned him round, and he's turned them both off the circuit at the top of the roller coaster.
Or keep going here, he'll get a penalty for that. IMSA 3 and 66 is that right here.
Be shocked if there's not a penalty there.
Race how you want to be raced. So Mueller raced Garcia hard, Garcia then raced Mueller hard, and sometimes they're going to let it go.
IMSA 3 and 66 has been reviewed, no action.
And then we've got this great battle through straight away. What a maneuver for Tonio Garcia.
This is going to get ugly here to the S's, yeah. Oh, we got the 4 car going around both of them, so Corvettes 3-4 now.
So it's Porsche 1 and 2, Corvettes 3 and 4, and behind them the Ford GTs back in 5 and 6.
9-11 wins it for Pele and Nick Tandy.
An impressive run for the 911.
Great job, Pete. Awesome there, textbook drive, really good job.
Keating and Blinkemolen win GTD at VIR.
Great job, buddy, great job, everybody.
Your own Blinkemolen did the job that Ben Keating hired him to do. He brought it home today.
And the celebration will continue for quite some time with Nick Tandy as he was able to get it done in the 911.
The racing in Virginia is done. Up next, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge head west, all the way west, to the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in beautiful Monterey, California, where the high speeds and tight corners mean that anything can happen. Be sure to tune in next time to IMSA, The Road to Racing.